This is my 2008 Honda Fit that I just bought last week off Facebook Marketplace. It was my first time ever buying a car off Facebook Marketplace. I was really nervous going into it. I did a lot of research, browsing through different forums and Reddit threads to really make sure I had everything prepared. And I remember feeling very overwhelmed during the entire process, like I'm literally just a girl. But having come out the other side, I can say confidently that I feel much more capable, that I learned so much throughout the process, and I want to share that with anyone who's looking to buy a car off Facebook Marketplace for the first time as well. I'm going to be covering everything in this video, from finding a good deal on a car all the way to getting plates and registration. So without further ado, let's get to phase one, which is finding the perfect car. And what that means first is you gotta narrow it down, okay? We gotta first figure out which make and model of car that we want. If you already know which specific year, make, and model, you can sort of skip the first couple minutes. If you don't, what I would recommend is really think about your sort of lifestyle and the purposes that you'll use this car for. For instance, I knew I wanted a small compact vehicle for ease of parking, but I also wanted to have a lot of storage in terms of what I could fit in the trunk. I researched a lot of compact SUVs and hatchbacks and ended up with this Honda Fit because lots of space in the back, and it was also sort of in the price range that I was looking to spend, which was about the 5 to 10K range. I actually spent less than that. Do your own research and figure out which specific make and model, and also pay close attention to the manufacturing years. Typically, you don't really want to get those first couple years of manufacturing that rolls off the line, because those are when the vehicle may not be fully fleshed out yet and may have a few problems that will be solved later down the line. This is a 2008 Honda Fit, which is technically the first generation of Honda Fit, but it is the last year of the first generation, and so I think a lot of the problems had been sorted out by that point. So now that you have this information, we know which make and model we want, and we know generally the range of years that we want to stick to. We're gonna go to Facebook Marketplace and we're gonna search that car. I like to sort from, least expensive to most expensive, but the idea here is that you just want to get a general idea of the market of these cars and what they're going for around your area. One thing that might be beneficial is to write down all of these things. You want to look at the spec. You might want a specific color, trim, because certain trims are also more expensive. Certain colors could be more expensive on a car. And you also want to pay attention to the odometer and how much mileage this car has done. Be wary of how reliable the car that you're looking for is. Mine is pretty reliable, so many of the cars that I saw on Facebook Marketplace were over 100K in terms of mileage. Some were even over 200K. That is okay for a car like this. For some certain other cars, that might not be okay, specifically if you're looking for a sports car or anything like that, or less reliable brands that aren't Honda or Toyota. But some things you might want to be careful of is, one, a salvage or a rebuilt title. You want to stay away from those because those can be very difficult to insure or very expensive to insure if you can even insure them. Some like to blur their license plate. I have heard is a little bit sus in those cases. Make sure you ask for the VIN number of the vehicle. If they're not willing to give you that, please stay away from those listings. Another trick I learned too is sometimes you want to set the minimum price at 1235, and once you have that, you can start narrowing down to a couple listings that you see at a time and keeping track of those, maybe in a Google document or in your notes. And a really great way in terms of determining if this vehicle is actually worth the price is, remember how we talked about asking for that VIN number? If you do that, you can go to a website called Kelley Blue Book and you can enter in this VIN number as well as all the other information about this vehicle. You can get a private party estimate of how much your car is worth. Typically, I would try to get between that, and they also have a dealer's price where if you immediately sell to a dealer, how much you would get for it. Getting in between that sort of range is ideally where you kind of want to be. Now, if the seller is not in this range, but is close to this range, I would slide in and I would be like, oh, would you take, and then I would lowball them a little bit, maybe take 10% off of the price and see if they're flexible at all about the pricing. Most sellers are, unless their description is like price is firm, but make sure this is a seller you can negotiate with. Before I talked about make and model, but we also want to think about maintenance, right? Reliability of this vehicle. Take a very close look at what are the things you have to do for maintenance and how often often. These are things that you can take into account when negotiating if these maintenance things haven't been done already. For instance, that happened to me. For a Honda Fit, the spark plug should be replaced every about 100k miles. This car was over that and hadn't had the spark plugs replaced. So that was part of my negotiation. But also that means that you need to research how much those maintenance issues will cost you so that you can give a reasonable reduction in price. Make a list of these things for maintenance if they don't give you a maintenance report, and be sure to ask the seller about them when you go in person to check out this vehicle. You also want to start looking into insurance. In terms of insurance, the way that I got the best price was I shopped around at a bunch. I went to Progressive, Allstate, Geico, and State Farm. And essentially, I had them compete with each other until they couldn't go any lower and gave me their best price. I would also try to get cash beforehand for this vehicle because I had some troubles on the day of in terms of pulling out the amount of money I had to pull out. And buyers are typically more willing to negotiate with you if you come with cash in hand. If you're a girl, I understand carrying a lot of cash can be a little bit scary. So you can also call your bank beforehand and tell them that you will be coming in after you guys have agreed on a negotiated price. And then there are 3 more things that you should be sort of knowing where the location of these things are. First thing is a mechanic. Find a mechanic where if you want to get your plates and your registration all done on the same day, I would find a mechanic that not only does one pre-purchase inspection, but also safety and emissions inspections, and are able to fix any of the things that might be wrong with your car immediately on the day of. I would also be looking for a notary nearby where this vehicle is located so that you can sign the title over to yourself, and you can just do a quick Google search for that. Lastly, I would look at a DMV plates and registration location, again near where the vehicle is located. So these are all things that you should sort of be preparing as you're narrowing down to maybe 1 or 2 or 3 listings of the cars you want to go and take a look at. All of the things, I will pop them up right here that you should be sort of making a list of to prepare and find your perfect vehicle. Outfit change, just hit the gym. Took too long filming the previous part. My little air freshener is in the way. Let me move that. Basically, step 2 is making sure that this is your perfect car. You have a few options at this point, maybe one option, and you want to go and check it out. For safety, especially if you're young and especially if you're a girl, please try to go with a friend. If not, I would recommend either the bank if you're checking by yourself. That way you can pull out the money as well instead of just bringing it cash, because that can be dangerous, especially again, if you're young and a girl carrying that amount of cash around. Or pre-purchase inspection, which try to go to a mechanic that you researched prior to this. I did my pre-purchase inspection at Pep Boys. I think it was $88. All they'll check is mechanically that your car is sound. Again, all the interior components you're gonna have to check yourself. So I know Chris Fix has a video. I'll try to link that below, and he has like a whole checklist that you can go through, like aircon, making sure all the different buttons work. I made a mistake during this step. I should double checked these visors because I realized after I bought the car I had a very annoying problem where the sun visor wouldn't go up the whole way. I had to come back and fix that for like 50-ish bucks. Ordered this off eBay. I'll insert what that process looked like right now. I would also recommend bringing a notebook with you so you can write down all of these things. Again, during the research component, you should have already learned sort of like what are the general things that go wrong with your car, so make sure to double check those and ask your mechanic afterwards about those if they need to be replaced or not. And that was what I did. What this car needed was wheels and spark plugs. When I gave my final price, I took these into account, and so basically I was able to purchase this car for $1,000 off, which I think is pretty good. And there are small components that you can sort of fix yourself, such as if your car has yellowing headlights. That's pretty common on sort of older cars. You can fix that for relatively cheap. I don't know about these days because inflation is getting our ass. And I did that here in my garage.
Here in my garage.
Okay, you know, you're gonna say your justification of your price, stick out your hand, they might shake it, they might counter, and you'll arrive at some sort of final price. Now, what I did after this is I would recommend just getting the work done on this car as you get the title signed over to you. When you drop your car off at your mechanic, do a safety and emissions inspection. You need this for your plates. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go back again after you register your vehicle. They'll give you temp tags, but if you want your registration and tags done on the same day, you can look on the DMV website and that should tell you which mechanics do that. So like when you're looking for a mechanic, like these are the things you want to cover, right? Like be able to do a pre-purchase inspection is a reasonable cost for all of these things that you should research beforehand. Lastly, yeah, make sure that they can do a safety and emissions test. The safety and emissions test shouldn't take too long, so they should be able to give you that paper. So I dropped my car off at the mechanic to get those things replaced, spark plugs, tires, and I also did an oil change so that I would be able to pick it up basically right after the DMV plate and registration situation was figured out. Dropped it off at my mechanic, got all the things done, went over to the notary. Now, at this point, I don't know if you have cash or not. If you don't have cash yet or a cashier's check, I would make a stop at the bank. You can also get your documents notarized at the bank. Most banks will do this as a free service. You just have to probably call ahead to make sure that there's actually a notary there. You're gonna get this title notarized, which basically means both you and the owner are going to sign the title, and then the title is going to be transferred over to you, and then it'll be officially your car. One thing you should notice on the title is to make sure that there is nothing. Let me try to show. There shouldn't be anything under lien. If there is, that means the owner does not own the car, and the bank or whoever they owe the loan on could come to repossess the car if the owner does not pay it off. You should give the cash or your cashier's check over to the owner right when you're about to sign or after when you sign. And then we're on to phase 3. All right. Let's just assume everything's smooth sailing at this point. What you're gonna do is look up your closest DMV for plates and registration. That is different from the DMV that you get your license from. Plates and registration, okay? I had about an hour wait, but I went during the day when people were working on like a work day. So it might take longer on weekends or days or times where people are off of work. Maybe this might differ state to state, but in general from what I've seen is you just need your license, you need your insurance, which on the way to the DMV, you can activate by just calling your agent. Again, I recommend negotiating everything before this car is coming. Just give your agent a heads up once you get the best price by shopping around and be like, I am going to look at a car today and I might purchase it. If it happens, then I will give you a call. And then they can immediately activate it. But you need proof of that, so you need to print out something that they'll give you, which is like a temporary insurance card. They'll probably email that to you, so you'll need to print that out. So license, insurance proof, the title that you've signed at the notary, and then lastly that pre-inspection. And if you only have the first 3, you can get your car registered, but then you have to go back for plates. If we're waiting for like a couple hours already, you might as well get this all done. And once it's all done, go pick up your car at the mechanic. Hopefully it's done by then, and drive home with your new whip. I really hope that this video helped someone out there make the process feel a lot less intimidating. I know I would have appreciated a video like this, and so I just hope that some people find it helpful. I'll try to answer any questions that anyone has down below in the comments, and also if you know more than me, which a lot of people probably do, feel free to also answer some questions down in the comments below. Let's all help each other out. This is not my usual type of video. I want to be able to learn a bunch of new skills, and I want to be able to apply them to the things that make me really excited, like fashion, cars, and interior design. And so if that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to subscribe and help me out, give me a thumbs up, and help this video in the algorithm so that other people who are looking to buy their first car can get a little bit of guidance. Until next time, see ya!